So, good afternoon, everyone. We have a great turnout online. We're expecting over 200 people online today. We have already well over 120. So I guess people will be connecting now. So today, let me first of all introduce myself. I'm Adeline Farrelly, and I'm Secretary General of FEVE, and I'm going to be your moderator for today. I'm very, very pleased to welcome you all to this unveiling of a new hallmark, a glass hallmark for people and planet. Joining us online are representatives of the brands, retailers, our customers, and of course our own members and glass industry. And it's very fitting, I think, that we do this event today because, of course, it is during the European Waste Reduction Week. And as endless recycling and making the most of raw materials are key priorities in this week, it's also key for our priority for our industry. So we're not really alone in all of this, and everybody's very, very concerned about sustainability, particularly when it comes to packaging. There's a huge importance and priority put on sustainability. But the thing is that we all struggle with is how to communicate sustainability to consumers, because it's a complex issue. And our objective today is to share with you the thinking of our industry about how to do this effectively. And we have come up with a simple glass hallmark to tell that story. And this hallmark is telling consumers about the endless recycling of glass, its product quality preservation, and how it cares for consumer health. So today we're going to hear from the glass industry and our reasoning behind this hallmark, but also what do consumers want when it comes to sustainability, and particularly in relation to packaging, what they're thinking. And also you'll hear the fact that we have developed this hallmark thanks to consumers, with co-development from consumers to develop this mark. And we'll hear a little bit about that process later on during our hour's discussion. We will also be talking to a customer industry and the experience of what they think about having such a hallmark. And now, for my role basically today is to be your moderator and to make sure that we don't waste time, or that our time is gobbled up. So I'm going to try and keep the panel running. We hope to finish at 4:05 on the dot. That's my objective. You're all on mute, but there is a possibility to send questions and to chat with us. So please, can I ask you to use those functions? And we, of course, will be able to answer some of these questions at the end of this panel, because we have foreseen a Q&A session. I would also like to unveil the hashtag Glass Hallmark, and I would like to ask you to follow that conversation on Twitter with that hallmark. So without much further ado, let me introduce you to our first speaker today. I would like to welcome Michel Giannuzzi, who is CEO of Verallia, a glass container manufacturing company, and also the FEVE president. So, Michel, I mean, communicating on sustainability to consumers, we need to have good content, right? So can you take us through what the glass industry sustainability vision for health and well-being in a circular economy is?
For sure. Thank you very much, Adeline. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to represent the industry. FEVE is the European Federation of Glass Packaging, and we represent 90% of all producers in glass packaging, serving food, beverage, pharmaceutical, cosmetics, and perfumery sectors, with manufacturing plants in nearly every European country. You can see all our members' logos on this slide. We have our own vision for sustainability, and we want to collaborate with the value chain to make that happen. Our vision is to position glass as the packaging solution of the future, the preferred solution for consumers for health and environmental reasons. As an industry, we are working a lot with Furnace for the Future, Close the Glass Loop, Friends of Glass, and so on initiatives. Now we want to be talking more to consumers and customers. All supply chain participants have goals on sustainability, and true partnerships are vital to collaborate to achieve this. That's why we are here to unveil this symbol as a symbol of future collaboration. Glass packaging has a long tradition that stretches back to the Egyptian times. Glass is one of the leading packaging materials and is made from ingredients found in nature that, when combined, have wonderful properties. And no matter what we do to be more sustainable, we will never compromise on the glass properties because they are what makes us special. Glass is always a non-toxic and inert material, preventing any transfer of flavors and preserving taste, odor, color, and texture. It remains monomaterial, a single layer material. So there's no need for chemical liners that can interact with food and beverages, and it is easy to recycle. It remains one of the most effective packaging materials for protecting products, forming a virtually complete barrier which prevents any loss of quality. And glass is infinitely recyclable. In the packaging sector, sustainability has a lot to do with waste management. And we see that the material really only becomes a problem when it cannot be reused or recycled. It is often only when it has to be recycled and needs to be circular that we start to see problems that are linked to health or environmental issues when recycling. So glass, which is always recyclable and reusable, maintains all virgin properties, no matter how many times it is recycled. It is the perfect closed loop material, and it should not come as a surprise that today the most important raw material for us is recycled glass. So we are proud to produce a 100% reusable and infinitely recyclable packaging, and we are proud of what we have achieved to date. Sustainability is a major driver for our business, and our industry spends 600 million euros per year on energy efficiency, decarbonization, and plant upgrades. But we are not perfect. We have a moral obligation to transition to a more resource efficient and low carbon economy and stay with the ecological boundaries of the planet. By doing so, we support the United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Goals and ensure our business goals are relevant and functional to them. Our industry aims for climate neutral glass packaging with 2 CO2 reduction strategies. We have recently launched with our customers and founding partners the Close the Glass Loop European platform and the first European action plan. The objective is to collect 90% of all glass packaging put on the market by 2030. Since 20% of CO2 emissions come from virgin raw material, if we can replace virgin resources with recycled glass, which call it cullet, we can eliminate those emissions. And every time we increase by 10% the recycled glass used, we can reduce by 5% our CO2 emissions. Regarding our production process, 80% of our CO2 emissions are coming from the energy we use. We will build the first ever large-scale electric furnace that can use a very high level of recycled glass and melt all colors. This is an industry collective action. We call it Furnace of the Future. And this pilot is a breakthrough technology that will allow us to switch to green energy, like electricity. It will be the first large-scale hybrid oxy-fuel furnace to run on 80% renewable energy and will cut CO2 emissions by 50%. This pioneering hybrid technology will become a major milestone towards climate neutral packaging. And we cannot work alone. So we are working in partnership with the whole value chain to make sure that our glass circular economy works better. to close the glass loop requires a systemic approach, bringing all the public and private players involved in the glass collection and recycling circular economy. Municipalities, brand, producers, recyclers, extended producers with the same objective. These are shared objectives with our customers, and consumers play a great part in closing the loop. We want to offer our customers a symbol to communicate glass packaging inertness and infinitely recyclability. And we want to encourage them to reuse and recycle the product. This is why today we are very happy to launch a hallmark to symbolize the assets of glass caring for the environment and the product inside. Sustainability is a complex topic, and in response to requests from consumers and customers, we have developed a symbol to communicate in a simple way what glass stands for, how it protects the quality of the product inside, how it protects human health and the environment when it is reused and recycled. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Michel. So closing the loop is a very big part of our climate neutrality objective. And this is where not only partnerships across the value chain are important, but also consumers need to be convinced to take the action at the end of life. May I just remind you that you will be able to ask questions to Michel in the Q&A session. We do have that at the end of this hour. And we just want to encourage you to please post your questions, use the chat function, and also have a conversation on hashtag Glass Hallmark. So the Hallmark is here to help communicate all of these glass sustainability credentials outlined by Michel to consumers. But what do consumers think about packaging? I'm very, very happy to welcome today Simona Salcudeanu. Simona is a researcher at InSites Research Institute. It's a next generation insight agency pushing the boundaries of marketing research. Simona, can you take us through the findings of your research on this? Thank you.
Thank you, Adeline. I'm happy to do that. So as Adeline mentioned, I'm basically here representing the voice of the end consumer and basically what they think about different packaging material, what their perception is of glass packaging, also related to other packaging materials as well, and what are their views on sustainability and their needs for this. So to give you a little bit of background into this research, if we go to the next page. The numbers that we will share with you now and the story that we will tell you is actually based on research that we've done at the beginning of this year in over 13 European markets with over 10,000 consumers. But this is also part of a bigger collaboration that we've had together with FEVE as well, where we've actually conducted multiple European-wide studies over the last 10 years. So you'll also see coming through in parts of the presentation numbers that look back to even 2014 or 2010, where we can also see some evolutions in consumer perceptions as well. So if we look at what consumers actually want to buy in terms of different packaging materials, what we've seen in our data from this last year is that actually half of European consumers claim to have bought more products in glass packaging versus 3 years ago. That's 51% of European consumers, while only a fraction of people, only 9%, claim to have bought less in glass packaging material compared to 3 years ago. So this gives us a very big net increase for glass packaging of people who buy it more versus people who buy it less. And if we compare this to other packaging materials, we actually see that glass is increasing overwhelmingly in popularity. Well, you can see on the chart on the right-hand side that for other packaging materials, we actually see a bit more of a decrease in usage than an actual increase in usage and in buying patterns. And next to consumers buying more glass, we also see that consumers are very heavily in favor of glass packaging as a better packaging materials, with 9 in 10 of European consumers who would recommend glass as a better packaging material versus other materials out there. And we've actually seen that compared to the previous study that we did in 2016, this number has even increased. Whereas before we had around 8 in 10 consumers who would recommend glass, we now see that Europe-wide, this is around 9 in 10 consumers who would do this. Of course, this number differs a little bit across countries in Europe, where you can see that if we look a bit more towards the eastern side of Europe or a bit more to the southern side of Europe, this number can be a bit higher than 9 in 10. While in some places it's a bit more 8 in 10 consumers if we look at UK or Germany. But what we've also seen is that the recommendation of glass has grown in every single market that we're looking at on this map here compared to 2016. So there's definitely this view in consumers' minds about seeing glass more positively, wanting to use glass more, and recommending glass a lot more. But let's look a bit at some of the reasons behind this. So if we want to look at the key reasons why consumers want to buy more glass, we see the number one reason is that they see glass as being more recyclable than other packaging materials. So this environmental aspect comes into play here. Then a second reason that we see is that they believe that glass is better at preventing contamination and preserving the health of the contents compared to other packaging materials as well, which also ties in with the first strongest reason, which is that overall they feel that glass is kind of more healthy and it gives them the stronger health safety feeling compared to other packaging materials, which around 1 in 3 consumers quoted both of these reasons. And then one of the last really strong reasons that we also see is that consumers believe that glass causes less littering of containers into the environment. So again, we see rounding off more of this environmental aspect to glass as well, coming into play together with the number one reason, of course, as well. So these are some of the key reasons why consumers would want to buy glass, but we also see that these are the main aspects that consumers are actually concerned about when it comes to food and beverage packaging. So when we ask consumers how worried they are about different issues related to buying food and beverage products, we see that 75% of European consumers are worried about the littering of containers into the environment. Around 2 in 3 consumers are then also worried about one of 3 different issues, namely food packaging waste, food contamination, and also effects of climate change on the food packaging. And also we see that 60% of consumers are very much worried about food waste in general as well. So there's a lot of worry around these topics, but when we ask consumers also how much these different aspects play into their decision on what types of food and packaging, food and beverage materials they would buy and what types of packaging they would choose when they're in the store and they would buy the materials, we see that the number one most important reason is the littering of food containers in the environment, so an environmental concern. Then the second most important reason actually is food contamination. So they're very much concerned about the health and safety aspect of the packaging, how it interacts with the materials inside it. And then the third strong reason, going back to environmental concerns, is just the effects on climate change of the packaging itself. And when we ask consumers which types of packaging materials they think can actually positively address each of these 5 issues, we've seen that overwhelmingly across Europe, across all different countries in which we conducted the research, glass is consistently seen as the best packaging material to address each 5 of these issues that we've illustrated here. And if we also look at some of our historical data, so looking back at some of our previous studies as well on these different aspects, we actually saw that the perception of glass as being the safest food and beverage packaging material has increased in the last 6 years. So whereas back in 2014, 49% of consumers saw glass as being the safest packaging material for food and beverage contents, today 56% of consumers see this. And still, year by year, glass was always the #1 choice compared to other packaging materials. And then if we want to look at the ecological aspect as well, over time, we've actually seen that consistently over the last 10 years, glass is always seen as #1 most recyclable packaging material. Although the perception of how much glass can be recycled has just slightly dropped from 89% of on average of glass being seen as recyclable to 84% of it being seen as recyclable. Still, year over year, we've consistently seen that glass is always the #1 most recyclable packaging material compared to all the other materials that we've benchmarked against. So basically, these are all key reasons and key assets that consumers see in glass, and also key assets that drive them to want to buy more glass, to want to recommend glass more to their friends and to their family as well.
So, okay, Simona, thank you very much. It's clear that health and environment are key drivers, I think we can say, for consumers when they're choosing a packaging. We've seen also the need to be a bit more proactive in making this message clearer to consumers, but it is complex, very complex. And so basically, how can an industry bring these findings to life? How do you make it easy for consumers to recognize these credentials of a packaging? So I would now like to invite Arnaud Aujouannet from OI, a container glass manufacturing company, and he is Chief Sales and Marketing Officer of OI, and he's also President of the FEVE Marketing Communications Committee. Arnaud, I see you're online. What's the result of all of this for us? You know, how can our industry and how does our industry plan to answer this consumer data?
Thank you, Adeline. I think it's very clear that glass has a lot of benefits and consumers understand it. Probably now the question is how to help them to remember those benefits at critical moments on using packaging. When they shop, when they use a product, or when they dispose of the packaging. How can we help them to remember that? To do this, we saw that it was critical to bring all those benefits to life in a simple, understandable, memorable sign that tells a story in one go. The benefit of that is to bring also to customers and brands a tool also to bring to life the benefits of glass, but also to showcase their commitment to sustainability. At the same time, what we will do is also to remember to consumers that when they choose glass, they should choose a packaging which is good for the environment, good for themselves, and good for their families. So I think this is a critical moment in our history because we have waited for that since quite a long time in the glass industry. So let's see what the hallmark is about. So let's see the unveiling video.
So it's coming.
Yeah.
So I think we're back. So if I can ask Arnaud and Simona to join me, but Arnaud, I'd like to have a question to you first. Is could you just tell us a little bit about what this hallmark represents and some of the the insights behind the development of this hallmark?
Okay, so I think let me first say that it's not only a symbol and a tool. It's a milestone in our journey to be even more active in communicating the glass benefits. It's also a fantastic opportunity to better connect with our customers, to partner with them, to bring better to life the benefits of glass. So I think we already covered that, but let me remember what are the benefits of glass. So because they are part of the logo itself. So let's think about that. Glass is natural. It's made of natural ingredients that are abundant in the nature and that are sourced responsibly. Glass is 100% infinitely recyclable. So let's think about a bottle or jar that can be recycled in a bottle or in a jar infinitely, and without losing any of their intrinsic quality. Okay, glass container also can be reused, many times. Okay, may live many lives, and again without losing any of their quality. And at the same time, the more we reuse packaging or the more we recycle glass, the more we have a positive impact on the environment. We save energy, we save CO2, okay, which is really critical for glass. Glass, again, preserves quality. It preserves taste and doesn't affect in any way the product which is inside and doesn't change the taste. And finally, glass cares for the health. Glass is virtually inert. It doesn't interact with the product inside. It doesn't leach chemical and in the food and beverage. So it's safe to reuse endlessly.
Thank you, Arnaud.
I just have a few last point. I think the combination of those benefits is quite unique. Okay, some of the benefits in isolation can be I would say used by all the packaging, but the combination of them is very unique. And so consumers sometimes know some of them, but the fact that they are combined together, I think probably is an opportunity that this logo is bringing to life, the hallmark brings to life. So this is a very important moment because I think we are for the first time bringing to life the full benefits in a simple and memorable way.
Thank you, Arnaud. Indeed, it represents many different things, very complex ideas behind what is a very simple and easy to understand symbol. So I'd like to just go back to Simona for a moment because obviously this story it's a success story of collaboration with all stakeholders. So we've worked with consumers to help develop this logo and also customers, and we'll hear from them later. So Simona is not only representing the InSites research agency, but also representing eÿeka, which is a crowd sourcing platform. And I'd like to could you just tell us, how did we get here? Can you bring us through the process and how the hallmark was actually developed through this platform, Simona?
Yeah, happy to do so. Because I think actually the creation of this hallmark is kind of the perfect embodiment of FEVE's mission to bring together not just the industry and the brands, but also bring together the consumers in this equation as well. When FEVE came to us, they'd actually already picked out the different assets that they wanted Glass to communicate on based on all the various years of research that we'd conducted, based on many insights that they had from the industry as well, and from all of the members of FEVE, that they decided that they wanted the hallmark to communicate on all of these different assets. But the one key component that they also wanted to integrate in this process was to bring in the view of consumers as well, and to bring in ideas from consumers to involve them in the process of creating this hallmark as well, and to do this in kind of a new, innovative and creative way. So of course, if we want to involve consumers into such a creative process and to have them come up with very original ideas, that means that we also need very creative minds from the consumers. We can't just pick out anyone and ask them to help us create this hallmark, but we really wanted to talk to some of those top creative minds among consumers. So this is where our eÿeka platform actually comes into play. This is a global platform that gathers together over 400,000 creative consumers from across the globe, from across over 160 different countries globally. And these are consumers that are really kind of the top 1% creative minds, but they come from very different backgrounds. Some of them are designers, some of them are innovation experts, some of them are just amateurs or students who are thinking of maybe going into this type of field, or who just do it for the fun of it. So they all come from different cultures with different perspectives, from different backgrounds as well, which really helps them come up with kind of very creative, very original, very innovative ideas. And we have them all together on this one platform, this one kind of creative playground of sorts, in which we gather all of them together. So what we did was we issued them a challenge, and we asked them to come up with an original hallmark. And in just 12 days, we got over 130 unique submissions of different hallmark ideas that we then started paring down together with FEVE, with the industry, with different brands, that we picked out some winning hallmarks, which we also then threw back to the regular consumers on the street and asked them what they think about it, what kind of message they think that hallmark brings across. And then based on their feedback and feedback from the industry, we ended up with this one concept that really brings everyone together, and where actually all the different stakeholders all agreed that this is the best hallmark that communicates all of these assets.
Great, that's good. So it's very, it's a consumer logo that is designed by consumers. That's very, very good. So, Arnaud, what's the industry expectation? Can you say what do we expect to happen with this hallmark?
So I think it's very simple. We would love to see this logo on every form of glass packaging, from olive oil to beer bottles to vegetables, all kinds of packaging, to symbolize the commitment that any one of us make to choose glass. We in fact see a lot of value for customers, for consumers, but also for us to bring the hallmark to life. I think it symbolizes the benefits of glass, the infinitely recyclable, the care for health and the planet. So I think it's simple. We would like to see that everywhere. So we would really encourage our customers to partner with us, to engage with us, to implement that.
And on that, how can brands and customers use it? How can they get involved?
So I think first, I think we have a toolkit ready for that. So we have a brand book with all the different execution potential that is ready, that will be easy to access on the website. Second, I think the only thing that is needed is to have to ask for a license with the FEVE organization. It's completely free. And the last point is really to connect with us. So I think with the packaging suppliers to help them to implement that on the packaging itself. So the toolkit is ready. There is no cost because it's just a license, and it's just to partner with us to implement that.
Okay, thank you, Arnaud. What I'd like to do now is I just see that we're coming to the end, and just to ensure that we keep on track and on time and be able to answer some of the questions that are coming in. And there's more questions, obviously, about this. So, but you will join us anyway at the Q&A panel at the end. So if you just wouldn't mind turning your cameras off and muting yourself, and I want to invite you back in. So just to thank you both, Simona and Arnaud, for that. So we've said that the hallmark is a product of code development, and we are very, very pleased to have Bonduelle here with us today, who contributed also to this code development. So moving from an idea to implementing it. So this is the idea, and we're wanting to work with customers and brands to implement it. and it will be interesting to find out how can customers use this hallmark. So welcome Arnaud Warusfel, the second Arnaud on our panel today.
Exactly.
So I might be referring to the different Arnauds, but anyway, Arnaud Warusfel from development. He's development packaging manager with Bonduelle, and Bonduelle is a major French company producing plant-based foods with over 2 billion in revenues. So Arnaud, we've just heard Simona speak about sustainability and health. It's interesting aspects that consumers identify glass with. Does this, and packaging in general, does this match what you're seeing at Bonduelle?
Yes, so thank you, Adeline. Good afternoon, all. Just to start, I'm pretty sure all the audience knows about Bonduelle, but just in case, if you can move the slide, please. Okay, thank you. At Bonduelle, what we do, we create innovative products and services to make plant-based food accessible through a brand. The brand in Europe, for instance, are Bonduelle for sure, and also Casgrain in France. We are a French family-owned company, which was created in the late 90s with a business model based on a long-term vision with an agro-industrial DNA and an international presence. If you can move to the next slide. Okay. Now at Bonduelle, next slide also, please. At Bonduelle, what we are convinced that the nature is our future. So because of that, we made a Global Csr Program we call the Big Pact, as you see on the image. The Big Pact is a commitment for planet, for food, and for people. And on that planet commitment, we said that 100% of our packaging would be designed to be recyclable or reusable for 2025. Next slide, please. Yes, and in parallel, our Bonduelle brand are also committed into sustainable farming and sustainable food within 6 axes you can see on the screen, which drives our different actions. And axis number 6, as you see, is to develop sustainable packaging. And I guess this is why I was invited today. Adeline.
Thank you, Arnaud. Yeah, I mean, we've seen, okay, a lot of brand owners and customers, they're very committed to addressing the issue of sustainability, and we've seen what Bonduelle is doing. How do you see this glass hallmark supporting these commitments of companies? And in the case of Bonduelle, how do you see it?
Yes, the thing is that the glass jars we are commercializing at Bonduelle Europe has already many benefits in line with our commitments. The problem we are having here is that the consumers, they don't really know it. So this is one of the benefits we will see in using hallmarks. Glass packaging are endlessly recyclable, jars into jars, bottle into bottle, with a very high recycling rate in Europe. What is also important to explain is that most of the packaging in glass contains recycled materials. And in having these recycled materials, we preserve our planet resources. Secondly, as it was said before, glass is an inert material, which is important to be able to preserve our products throughout its whole shelf lives. There is no interaction with a product. It is a total barrier to oxygen, and this has to be promoted also to our consumers. Yeah.
But as a brand, what do you get out of using a hallmark like this?
Yeah, what we will do is that in using it, we'll put our packaging commitments into actions, and we will promote that these glass jars are already recyclable today for Bonduelle. And it will be also a way to inform our consumers to do, the right sorting gesture with the Bonduelle glass jars, because sometimes consumers are a bit mixed of what they can do at home or in the collecting point. What is important for the full economy circular of glass packaging is that the more packaging glass will be collected, the more they will be recycled, and at the end, less planet resource will be used to produce a new glass packaging. So this is a key message we need to bring to our consumers, and on that, everyone can take an actions like Bonduelle.
Arnaud, do you have any experience, Bonduelle have any experience of using other similar type labels? What has been the experience of Bonduelle in that?
Yeah, so we have, I have two experiences in mind. Two examples. First of all, in 2019, we have decided to use metal recycled forever, which has been created by the Association of Packaging Metal Producers, in Europe. We decided for each new can development to put that logo in our cans in order to promote the handless recyclability and the sustainability of the metallic cans. And as of today, 20% of our cans commercialized in Europe have already this logo. Okay. And the second example I have, as I said, we are at Bonduelle brand, we committed for sustainability early this year, and for doing that, we have developed our own logo and key messages, which are being used by our marketing teams throughout Europe, and this is being put on packaging. So we, through the pack, we promote our messages and our commitments. And I got me.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So we would like, the industry would like to encourage brands and customers like yourselves to use this. How do we do that? How do we encourage brands and customers to use it? And what kind of support do you think is needed?
Yeah, okay, thank you, because it's a very good question. We have many ideas in Bonduelle how you can support us on that. First of all, maybe you could share the way some brands are using our mark, just to inspire other brand, maybe to explain some success story on it, so that we could really see how we can use it. What I was thinking is that for the ones who will use our marks, you could maybe create like a friend of glass ambassadors, where you could, bring us some materials, some updated information on the glass packaging circular economy, so that we could regularly, I would say, communicate this updated information through a pack to our consumers. That would be some things I think interested. Yeah.
So are you going to use the logo in Bonduelle? Thank you very much, because Arnaud, you did help, us perfect the logo, and you were involved in giving some advice and stuff like that. But will you use it?
Exactly. Yeah, we will. What we'll do now, it is officially launched today. Yes, we will start working of using that logo within Bonduelle with a central team. As we've already said, we have the pictogram, we have a guideline which is already existing. So we will build up a promotion of this logo within the local teams, so that they could imagine how they can put it on the packaging, how they can activate this logo and pass it to the customers and consumers. So the story, or I would say the actions, is starting from tomorrow.
Good. We'll hold you to that. Huh?
Yeah, don't worry.
So stay with us, Arnaud, please, because we will now go in. I will open the Q&A panel section. So I just want to give the panelists time to get back, open up their webcams, and come back online. We have some questions coming in, and I'd like to, so welcome back the two Arnauds. So I'll be talking to Arnaud, the vegetable man, and Arnaud, the glass man, just to to easily if I'm calling one of your names out. So I'll do that. So welcome back. I'd like to maybe just start because there's a couple of people asking a question about the sustainability on glass. And so one of the questions is, okay, I mean, glass is recyclable, it's fully recyclable, it's perfect for circular economy, but there's some other problems in, the CO2 footprint of glass. They'd like to know, what is the glass industry doing about that? Michel, I'll hand that question. Michel Giannuzzi, the FEVE president, I think that's one for us, for the industry. Do you want to take that?
Well, clearly, I mean, of all the benefits of glass, probably the only, if I can say so, weakness is probably still the strong level of CO2 emissions that we have in this industry. However, I mean, many years ago, actually, the industry started to work very hard on this topic. I mean, just to give some numbers, I mean, in the last 40 years, the industry has been able to reduce the energy consumption by 50%, and the CO2 emissions have been reduced by 70%. So I think we did, as an industry, achieved a lot in the last decades. However, it's not enough. We know we have more to do if we want to achieve carbon neutrality, which is eventually our 2050 goal. And to achieve this, clearly our strategy is twofold. On the first side, we need to increase the cullet collection rate. You know very well, I mentioned that before, if you increase that by 10 points, the percentage of cullet ratio that we use in our furnaces, we can reduce our CO2 emissions by 5%. That's a lot. And therefore, our goal is working with all the partners in the supply chain, municipalities, brands, consumers, is to increase the collection rate of used glass, we call it cullet, from 76% today to 90% by 2030. So this is doable. It requires everybody's partnerships in action. And this is why we've developed the Close the Glass Loop industry platform. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar of our strategy is to work on the technical side with R&D project, which is what we call an hybrid furnace, which will be able to use 80% of renewable energy, which is electricity based, and reduce hence by, again, 50% the CO2 emissions. This is a very ambitious target. And of course, to do it in a very industrial way, I mean for large and mass production, and not just as an R&D project. And we have the ambition to be able to build such a furnace, which will be able to produce 300 tons of glass per day, any kind of glass, with 50% less CO2 emissions. So this is currently, and this is what is very noticeable and very remarkable, I believe, is in order to achieve such an ambitious project, the FEVE organization has been able to organize the contribution and the collaboration of 19 of its members. So you have 19 glass manufacturing companies that have partnered in a special purpose vehicle in order to develop such an advanced project. And I think this shows a lot the determination and the commitment of this industry to move towards carbon neutrality. And I think we are on a good track to achieving it.
Thank you, Michel. I'm just keeping an eye on some of the questions, and one thing that I want to flag is that the results from the InSites survey that was shared with you, they will be available online on the FEVE.org website after this. So in fact, all the materials will be online after this. So question for Arnaud the Glassman. Is the hallmark to be embedded in the mold? So is it to be embedded in the glass or on a separate label? So how do brands use this? Arnaud?
Okay, so we have multiple options for that. So obviously we can put that in a mold. But the hallmark also can be put on a label or even can be used separately in different pieces of communication. So I think in the toolkit that is available, there are all the options possible, and all of that has to be discussed, I think, between brands, customers, and glass manufacturers on how to implement it.
Okay. Simona, I just a question to you, because you mentioned that you do a lot of research on sustainability issues for different types of clients. What's the added value for brands using this kind of hallmark or logo? Do you see that it will work for brands?
Well,
and
first off, I
in
think
what
it's not.
sectors also, if you
Yeah.
have an idea about sectors also, non-alcoholic sector or the alcoholic sector?
Yeah. So I think to start off, I don't think it's only an added value. I think it's slowly but surely even becoming a necessity for brands to really communicate on sustainability. Like you mentioned, we do a lot of research on this for other brands. We also do our own pieces of research on new trends and what this means for different brands. And over the last couple of years, we focused a lot on sustainability, running a lot of pieces on conscious consumption. And what we saw based on research from late 2019 is that across Europe, there's an overwhelming focus on sustainability and on expectations for brands in terms of sustainability. So not just do consumers see brands more positively if they do communicate about sustainability. 1 in 2 consumers sees a brand as being more up to date if it communicates about sustainability. 1 in 3 thinks a brand is higher quality if it communicates about sustainability. But next to this, consumers are also taking action as well. Out of the European consumers that we talked to, 1 in 5 of them said that they've actually boycotted a brand at some point in the past because of sustainability reasons, and packaging was non-sustainable packaging was the #1 underlying reason for boycotting brands as well across Europe. And while we're still in the process of collecting our final data for our round for this year, that we'll be sharing and talking about in some online sessions in a couple of weeks, some preliminary data that we've collected in a few markets already that we've looked at is showing us that the COVID pandemic is actually putting even more focus on many of these aspects of sustainability. So consumers are not their minds are not taken off of this because of the COVID pandemic either, but it's actually, in some cases, it's increasing it more, and it's putting more pressure on brands to do so.
Yeah, indeed. The life has changed dramatically.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. One of the questions that we're getting is that, and this is to Arnaud, the vegetable man. Arnaud.
Yes, if you don't mind, just not vegetables, but plant-based food, which is more.
Plant-based
yeah,
food.
yeah, we do more than vegetable. Thank you.
So there are a lot of labels and claims on packaging. I mean, there's really a lot of labels out there, and so aren't there enough labels? Do we need another one?
Yes. This is an interesting question. I would say the information on the labels is I would say important, provided we activate it. If we just put a logo on the label, but we don't explain, we don't activate that, that message to the customers, to the consumers in social media, in some maybe publication and something like that, it will just be some things hidden among other things. So for us, if we activate it in the right way and we have the right support from the FEVE and our glass supplier, I would say I think it will be really a good thing to do. At the other hand, we never at Bonduelle, we have never I would say claimed anything on the packaging of the glass packaging, so it will be something new for us, so we can start on that. And also it is very consistent with, as I said, with our corporate and brand commitments So it is, I think all the planets are within us, just a way to maybe to go ahead and see how we do it in Bonduelle.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Arnaud the Glassman, what are we offering brands and customers to support the uptake?
Okay, so I think several parts in the question. I think the first one is on our side, we will communicate a lot, I think, from the industry on glass benefits. So we have some platforms, Glass is live, but we will communicate a lot on the hallmark itself to value the glass benefits through I think, this logo. So this will create, I would say, momentum for glass. At the same time, we have this toolkit, okay, so which is available for any brand to use to implement the logo. And at the end, I think what we offer is help. I think is I would encourage any customer to partner with us to understand how to implement it on the packaging. So finding ways to do that in the best way. And that's critical is creating those partnerships to put that in to implement that in the right place. There is a lot of benefit for all of us on this.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Arnaud Warusfel, you could maybe help us. What should we what do we say to other brands? How do we sum up the benefits of using the hallmark for other brands?
Yes, what I would say is that first of all, glass packaging is a sustainable packaging, which I would say which has many benefits in terms of recyclability, recycled content, and that's first criteria. The second one is that, as already said, it is an inert materials which preserve the quality of the products throughout I would say the shelf lives of the products. So it is something important to promote. What is also important is that the brands, we are in contact direct with our consumers. So it should be, or it has to be, our responsibility to bring these messages to the consumer so that they see glass packaging a bit differently than what they used to see them. And again, and at the end, I would say, if we want this closed loop initiative to be in actions, everybody needs to take his part. And brands like packaging glass manufacturer, like consumers and association of recyclers, needs to do their own job. And this is why I would call for action for the other brands. Otherwise, you know, what we will have done for the last 1 hour would just be a nice webinar, but at the end, our commitments would just not be achieved within some years.
Yeah, good call to action. And indeed, Close the Glass Loop. This is a stakeholder platform that we are working together with suppliers, with customers, with recyclers, with the local authorities, with many the extended producer responsibility schemes to try to close the glass loop. So indeed, this is a symbol that can be part of that. Very excellent point. So one thing we missed out on, and that, Simona, can you tell us who is the consumer who made this hallmark? Can you tell us about her? She.
Yeah. Yes, it's a she actually. It's a Ukrainian lady named Natalie, who has been on our platform for a while and participated, and who actually created the hallmark as you see it today, and the hallmark itself.
Very well done to her. So we will have more information on our websites about that. So yeah, I think we're coming to the end of our session. It's time to wrap up. I would like to thank very much the panelists for being with us today. There's a lot of information that's going to be on the website for anybody who's looking for more information about how to use the glass hallmark, how it was developed, what it stands for, There's a lot of documents there, so I would ask you to go on the website and download these things. So I'd like to thank, we had over 200 people, well over 200 people online. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for participating. Sustainability is a very complex issue. Our new simple glass hallmark is helping us to tell that complex story in a very simple, iconic way. And you know, to match the endless recyclability of glass, the product quality preservation, and its caring for consumers' health is quite. There's a lot of elements to put together. So well done, Natalie. We are proceeding to worldwide registration of the trademark, and there is a website now, glasshallmark.com, where all the information for this product is available. We would strongly encourage you, and the message from Arnaud is to contact your suppliers, contact the glass industry to see how we can partner with you for this on this symbol. This panel also, by the way, is recorded, and so the recording will be available for downloading also in the coming days. So thanks a lot to all the panelists. Thank you to the audience. Thank you to the FEVE team, to the national associations, to the marketing and sales people from the different FEVE member companies who have worked together on this symbol, and of course our partner agency, Weber Shandwick. Thank you to you too. Stay safe, everyone, and get in touch to find out more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.